You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. A second look at MVP's recent decision to sign former champion Ebanie Bridges, who is now 38 years old and coming off of giving birth to her very first child. Former IBF bantamweight champion Ebanie Bridges is signed with MVP, joining the company's ever-expanding roster of female talent. Originally a high school math teacher from New South Wales, Australia, Bridges, 9-2 with 4 knockouts, left the classroom to chase her dream of becoming a world champion boxer in the UK, a dream she realized by claiming the IBF title with a win over Maria Roman in March of 2022. Bridges successfully defended her crown against Shannon O'Connell later that year before losing it on points to Japan's own Miyo Yoshida in December of 2023. That was the last time we saw Ebanie in action on the undercard of Haney vs. Prograis well over a year ago. Bridges gave birth to her first child with former welterweight champion Kell Brock in February, and she is now targeting a comeback later this year as she looks to reclaim her title. I'm very excited about signing with MVP. They've done amazing things for women's boxing in such a short time, said Bridges, who also holds a master's degree in mathematics and education, speaks 3 languages, and is both qualified. She's both a qualified mechanic and a black belt in karate. She's really something. Proud to be joining a star-studded stable full of champions, current, former, and future world champions I love and appreciate that MVP are truly investing in women's boxing for the right reasons. I believe with MVP's backing, promotion, and clever marketing, myself and women's boxing will truly skyrocket. So I was happy for Ebanie Bridges when I heard that MVP decided to pick her up and add her to their stable, but at the same time, I was perplexed because Ebanie Bridges hasn't fought in over a year. She's coming off a loss, and she's 38 years old. So what are the chances that she can actually reclaim her title at 118? What are the odds at a time when only one fighter has all the marbles, only one fighter has all the belts, and that's Shernika Johnson? At this point in the juncture, I don't think Ebanie can beat Shernika Johnson. I question whether or not Ebanie can still even make 118 pounds, and it's not much better at 122. She doesn't beat Ellie Scottney, and I don't think she beats Mayeli Flores. All the world titles are split at 122 between those 2 fighters, and I don't think Ebanie Bridges beats either of them. It's not for disdain of Ebanie. I was a big supporter of her, and I'm a big supporter of her now. I know not to underestimate her, but while she was away, those divisions became a lot deeper. It's a lot harder to win a belt at 118 and 122. I feel like her best bet to get a belt is if one of these champions moves up, vacates their titles, and maybe then she can fight for one of them. And even then, it's not gonna be easy. A former champion, Dina Thorslund, was away on maternity leave, like Ebanie has been away on maternity leave. Unfortunately, she miscarried, and now she is set to return to the bantamweight division. Ebanie doesn't beat her. She doesn't beat her either. It's hard to say that Ebanie can beat any of the upper echelon fighters anywhere in between 118 to as high as 126. Those are deep divisions, and I may be a fan of her, but I don't speak bullshit. I don't beat around the bush. I ain't got no hair on my tongue. And these are the realities for a 38-year-old female boxer who hasn't boxed in over a year and is coming off a loss. Slim pickings, one of 2 curious signings MVP decided to make when they signed Ebanie and when they signed Shannon Courtenay. Don't get me wrong, I like those fighters. I've supported them, but I wouldn't have signed those 2. I mean, if it were up to me, I would have sooner signed Alexis Kubitsky of Canada or Micaiah Krebs of Niagara Falls.
Why?
It's because they're younger. It's because they don't have as many miles on the odometer, not as many losses on the column, and their careers are ahead of them. Developing a fighter is not just about developing their fighting skill, but their ability to draw as well. That's something you have to do over time, and you don't have as much time to do that with two fighters like Shannon Courtenay and Ebanie Bridges.
It's not ageism, it's reality.
Every boxer, even the young ones, have a small window of opportunity to try to get something done and make some money. That's why I found them signing Shannon Courtenay and Ebanie Bridges curious. I wish them both all the best, and I hope they succeed in whatever they decide to do and what's in front of them, but I'd be lying to you if I said that I thought it was going to be easy. I'm sorry to say, I like Ebanie Bridges, but I don't think she beats any of the upper echelon fighters at 118, 122, or 126.
They can try to put her in a big fight, but can she actually win it?
Curious to see what MVP will be able to do for Ebanie Bridges and what remains of her boxing career. Men's lightweight news. Lamont Roach closes the door for one Gary Russell brother, but opens the door to another. Lamont Roach Jr. is willing to face one of the fighting Gary Russells, just not the one who's calling him out. The one calling Roach out is former featherweight champion Gary Russell Jr., 32-2 with 19 knockouts. The 37-year-old recently returned to the ring for the first time since January of 2022, a period in which Russell's father died. The namesake son assumed the role of the patriarch of the family and began raising the children of a younger brother, Gary Boosa Russell, who passed away in 2020. Russell looked good in his comeback fight despite the long layoff, winning a 10th round technical knockout on the prelim undercard of Barrios versus Pacquiao. The caveat is that Russell's foe was the 15-2 with one draw, Hugo Castaneda.
Who the hell is that?
Exactly. Russell has called out many names over the years, though he has not succeeded in getting them in the ring. Then again, Russell has rarely been in the ring himself over the years, famous for his inactivity even before the family tragedies. I remember at one point Gary was boxing once a year for about 5 or 6 years consecutively.
On a schedule like that, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not going to amass a big enough following on a schedule like that to make yourself an incentive for the other champions and the other fighters that you want to fight. There's no reason to fight you, because you ain't worth nothing. God forbid that you can actually fight, that you're actually halfway decent, because that's even less reason for fighters to fight you. What am I gonna go through the trouble of fighting him for? I don't get nothing out of it.
Among the people that Gary Russell has spoken of is Lamont Roach, who is also from the Washington, D.C. region and has been a regular target as of late. Roach, however, is having none of it. Only Gary Russell I'm fighting is Antuanne-Russell. Roach posted on X referring to WBA junior welterweight champion Antuanne-Russell, 18-1 with 17 KOs. What I look like coming off a robbery draw with a pound-for-pound talent, Gervonta Davis, to fighting a 38-year-old who just had his first fight in 3.5 years. The other little mofo can beat it. That's what people below you are supposed to do. Call out the best.
He's turning his nose up at Gary Russell. It's not hard to do since Gary's about the size of a garden gnome.
Gary came in at about 131 pounds for the Castaneda bout. Roach, 25-1 with 2 draws and 10 knockouts, holds the WBA title at junior lightweight, but fought Davis to a draw at lightweight in March. Davis versus Roach 2 was initially expected to take place on August 16th, a date that was already in question before Davis was arrested for allegedly assaulting his ex-girlfriend for the upteenth time. A new date for the rematch has yet to be announced. Unmentioned for obvious reasons was junior featherweight Gary Antonio Russell. If Gary Russell Jr. can't yet trade punches with Roach in the ring, he can at least retort on social media. We see why you're running scared, Russell posted on X. You know, it's different over here. We played in the ring and did whatever we wanted after 3.5-year layoff. Just to remind whoever forgot, there's levels for a reason.
Bear in mind, this is the guy who lost to Mark Mixayo.
There are 2 to 3 separate stories here. 2 to 3 primarily. Gary Russell Jr. is back, but nobody gives a damn.
That's one.
What's 2? Lamont Roach is entertaining a move to 140 pounds. Because if you're talking about fighting Gary Antuanne-Russell, he's a champion at 140, and he's a big 140. He can't make 135. So, if you're talking about fighting him, you must be talking about moving up.
What's 3?
Lamont Roach's last fight was at 135. Now he's entertaining the idea that he should move up to 140, which means it's not likely he goes back to 130, where he currently holds the WBA title. Seems to me that Lamont is very close to vacating that title. The WBA's interim champion at 130 pounds is Jazza Dickens.
What the fuck?
So if Lamont vacates the WBA title, it's likely going to go to Jazza Dickens, who will then have to defend it against Russia's own Elnur Samedov.
The WBA's #1 contender. It seems that we are very close to seeing a new WBA super featherweight champion crowned, as Lamont has no immediate plans to return to 130.
Just fought at 135 and means to go to 140 if Gervonta Davis can't find his balls to have that rematch. But even if that rematch doesn't happen, Lamont will continue to do damage to Gervonta's reputation.
Even if they never fight again.
If they never fight again, it's actually going to be worse for Gervonta.
Waste.
Because all it's going to take is for some other guy who's not as hyped up as Gervonta, doesn't have his reputation, to go in there and mangle Lamont Roach. And that's going to make Davis look even worse. This is the guy that gave you all these problems?
Wow.
I ain't got nothing against Lamont Roach, but I ain't gonna pour sugar on shit either. He's not all of a sudden this remarkable fighter, this amazing fighter, because Gervonta Davis struggled with him. He's still the guy who lost to Jamel Herring. The excuse is supposed to be that over time, and since that loss, Lamont Roach got better. I've even heard people try to say that he's better than Shakur Stevenson. Let him go in there and fight Shakur, and you'll see how much better he's not.
Shakur would eat his Lunchables.
Gary Antuanne-Russell would turn his TV off because he mentioned Gary Antuanne-Russell potentially moving to 140 pounds, and as stated, Gary is a big one for it. Big enough that I don't think Lamant's punches would have any effect on him. Gary would steamroll him, and if he does, it's all bad for Gervonta. You're supposed to be king shit!
You're supposed to be a tank.
Gary doesn't have the reputation that Gervonta Davis has. To the casual audience, Gary Antuanne-Russell isn't even a blip on the radar. So if that guy were to go in there and steamroll Lamont, where Gervonta could not, then the pressure's going to be on...
You know what they're going to start asking for? They're going to start asking for Gervonta Davis versus Gary Antuanne-Russell. The pressure doesn't go away. It's constant.
What should Gervonta Davis do then?
Taya, open up a nail salon in the village and never speak of boxing again.
Because if he makes a decision to not run it back with Lamont Roach, but he insists on staying in the world of boxing, well, it's going to follow him around for as long as he dares to box, for as long as he dares to wear boxing gloves. And any guy that goes in there and pounces on Lamont, and they would.
Lamont is not all of a sudden a pound-for-pound fighter, a remarkable fighter just because Gervonta Davis struggled with him. I can name 10 guys off the top of my head that I would pick to beat Lamont.
Gary Antuanne-Russell is one of them. Keyshawn Davis is another. And Subriel Matias is yet another. You want me to go on?
Not a big guy, Lamont Roach. He's not a big super featherweight. He's definitely not big at lightweight. At super lightweight, forget it.
Turn his TV off up there is what they do. If Gervonta Davis doesn't right this wrong, if he doesn't fix this, somebody else will. And then the pressure's going to be on him to fight them.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, more cheating allegations, more cheating claims from Terence Crawford's detractors.
One of the more popular ones, Fanon International, has gone ahead and said that he thinks that Terence Crawford was juicing in the Errol Spence Jr. fight, and that's why it played out the way that it played out.
He's still mad.
Yet another popular content creator, Boxing Ego, claims that Victor Conte exposed Terence Crawford transparency after fans went on the attack. This is all ahead of the Canelo Alvarez fight. And some that are using Terence's association to Victor Conte to suggest that he's doping, which is absurd to say the least, because Canelo's the one who actually popped hot. Canelo's the one who actually tested positive for a banned substance. So if Terence is doping and Canelo is doping, who cares?
Canelo Alvarez's fans care. They need a narrative. They need something to lean on, something to believe in. If Terence actually does the unthinkable, they need an excuse.
So that they can do what Fanon is doing. Fanon is trying to explain away Errol's loss to Terence behind doping.
You mean to tell me almost 2 years out from that fight, people are still making excuses for Errol?
They absolutely are. That one hurt. You know, Stephen Fulton losing the way that he did to Inoue that same week, that stung a bit, but they were not as invested in Stephen Fulton like they were in Errol Spence Jr. for years and years and years. Content creators like Fanon International swore up and down on a stack of Bibles that the eye collector was going to collect Terence Crawford's eye, like he collected Kell Brook's eye and Ugas's eye.
They made a lot of videos about it. They made a lot of money from those videos. In comes Terence Crawford and makes fools of them all.
And these are not the kind of people that can just own up to their mistake and admit that they were wrong. Not a guy like Fanon. As old as he is, he's got the emotional intelligence of a toddler.
Yeah.
But alas, Fanon International and Boxing Shigo, what remains of the Haymanites, they're not the only ones going after Terence with these cheating allegations. An even more popular content creator than them, with a much bigger channel in Showbiz the Adult, he's been levying these same allegations against Terence Crawford, albeit for different reasons. I don't know that he has an axe to grind over Terence beating Errol. I don't know who Showbiz picked in that fight, but I do know what he's doing now.
He's preying on the Canelo Alvarez's fans' absurdities. He knows, like I know, like you know, that this fight makes them nervous. And if Canelo loses, he's gonna need an excuse.
He's gonna have some explaining to do. And Showbiz's explanation is to suggest that Terence is doping. He's saying this preemptively, so that if Terence does the unthinkable and he beats Canelo, the victory is already tainted.
But aren't you doing the same thing? You said you think everybody's doping.
Exactly. And thus I don't hold it against anybody. I don't hold it against Terence any more than I hold it against Canelo if it's the industry standard. It's not a witch hunt when I say it. I'm not bringing up cheating allegations as a means to tear down a fighter.
Because at this point, I'm convinced that almost everybody at the top is doping.
So why would I bring it up? Least of all now when Terence Crawford is fighting a guy who already got busted by VADA.
What's Showbiz's angle?
Well, he's using this to prey on the absurdities of Canelo Alvarez's fans. He knows they're nervous, and he must feel that Terence stands a chance.
He's a smart guy. He sees an opportunity to make money. You make videos like this, pandering to Canelo's fans. There are more Canelo fans than there are Crawford fans.
You tell them everything they want to hear, and that bumps up traffic to your channel, allowing you to make more money.
That's the grift.
That's the game. I ain't got nothing against the guy, but if I had to wrap my mind around why somebody would accuse Terence of doping, and he might be,
I think he is.
to discredit him ahead of a Canelo Alvarez fight when Canelo's already been caught doping, what's the point? At the very most, that puts him on equal footing to Canelo.
What's the point?
Pandering to Canelo's very nervous faction of fans. That's the point. Playing on their absurdities to make more money. Content creators don't make money off of how accurate the content is, the quality of the information, so much as how many people take it in, whether it's true or not.
It's all about the views.
Content creators make money off of how accurate their forecasts are. A lot of these big channels would have went out of business a long time ago. They make money off the views, off of how many people they can get to watch what they're saying. And what he's saying is more geared towards the Canelo fans than the Crawford fans because Canelo's got more of them. Canelo's got an army of supporters.
He's pandering for clicks. That's all it is.